Welcome to another edition of Saturday Sit Down. This week we catch up with a former Lethbridge Hurricane captain, Jamal Watson, joining us from Calgary. And Jamal, how are things going, my friend?
Good. Been busy. Just trying to stay out of trouble with COVID and enjoying the hot weather in Calgary. Can't complain. Nothing too crazy.
Yeah, it's been pretty hot in southern Alberta as we speak and record now. What have you been doing to keep busy and try and enjoy the summer now that you can get out and do a little bit of stuff?
Well, I guess working right now from home, doing an accounting internship at RSM Canada. Accounting was my degree of choice. I know that probably surprises some people, but that's what I decided to do a little bit. But traveled a little bit, Winnipeg with like some of the old boys like Lindgren and stuff like that for his golf tournament. Uh, Been a lot downtown, just hanging out, enjoying the Bow River and stuff like that. Hanging out with my dog and just longboarding around, just really enjoying everything.
Let's talk about your time in Lethbridge a little bit later on, because there's a lot of people that want to be able to experience that. But I do want to talk to you about the movement that we've seen over the last couple of weeks and couple of months. Of course, the Black Lives Matter movement, both in society but also in hockey. You being a black man, being a black hockey player, I know you have strong feelings about this. So maybe tell us how you feel with everything going on right now and how much progress you've been able to see over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, no, it's as a black hockey player, I think definitely my favorite thing is that it started to come to the forefront that, like, even though what's going down in the U.S. with like George Floyd and police reform, Breonna Taylor, that people aren't just sitting there saying that like this doesn't happen in Canada. And like, if for you to say that it doesn't, I think that's an ignorant take to be, well, racism does exist here. And at the forefront, this Black Lives Matter and everything, and all the hockey players like Matthew Dumba, Evander Kane, Anthony Stewart, these guys starting to step up to say, all right, like, it's not a bigger problem, it's still a problem in Canada. And the idea that black hockey players are starting to become more prevalent and starting to become more entrained in the game, as you see in draft picks. I've noticed that, especially that like the league has added more and more black players since I've been in there, that we're starting to take things seriously to say, all right, what's going on out there isn't okay. And like, even in Canada, like there is experiences of racism, and I could share stories about it. I'm sure a multitude of other dudes could. And that's kind of what happened with MRU, to say, hey, like, we need to do more about this. We need to do more about this. We need to do more about that kind of thing. And to say like, hey, the Black Lives Matters, not only it's just creating police reform and trying to create awareness about it, it's like, well, how can we change? How can we make things more inclusive for guys coming in after me? And that's something like for sure that I take seriously, is even though it's my last year at MRU, I want the next black student athlete that comes in and plays for the men's hockey team to feel included, and no matter what the situation is, whether if they are black, brown, white, Asian, it doesn't matter. It's a place of inclusiveness. And I think that's something we've been lacking a conversation about within our society within the last few years, obviously.
I obviously, having worked in the game for so long, I've seen hockey progress. And when everything happened a couple of months ago, you saw current Western Hockey Leaguers and two former Lethbridge Hurricanes in Jaden Joseph and Coltrane Wilson speak out. And it was so inspiring to see that. You spoke out too. You put out a video on the MRU web pages and Instagram. When you see the amount of talk, and I think that's the most important thing, is to be able to talk about it, right? It's not to put them side by side, but it's, in a lot of ways, it's like mental health and mental illness. If you don't talk about it, it's not at the forefront. It's not prevalent. How have you been inspired? How have you been, moved by the amount of black hockey players and white hockey players and Asian hockey players that have spoken out on behalf of everything that's going on right now?
I think it just speaks volumes to how the hockey community takes things seriously. as much as you want to say the lawsuits that recently happened about abuse and stuff like that, like I can give nothing but positive reassurance that my Western League career, every single guy that I've been with send me messages saying like, "Hey man, like just want to let you know that I'm in your corner. Everything is kind of like I support you and stuff like that." The bad apples, the weird situations that happen that are the 0.1%, that's obviously prevalent in any career that you do, that bad things like that happen. It is what it is. It's the way that human society works. But with the hockey community, you see just everyone speaking out to say, yes, I'm on the same side. It was like, sure, I may not understand what being black means, but I want to listen. I want to learn and be like, yes, I want to understand that this is not okay and that we need to make a change, whether that's one person or 1,000 people. And I think the most prevalent thing is it's good to see the young kids speaking out about it. Like Jaden Joseph, Coltron. Like obviously I don't know those guys, but any black individual that's put on Lethbridge Hurricanes uniform, I'm sure is on the same page to say, we need to do more, we need to push the envelope, and we need to make the conversation happen to say, well, maybe there is a problem here. And I think that's the most important thing. And people are starting to understand that, yes, there is an issue here. There's a problem within our society, whether you don't see it or not. Just because it's not available to you doesn't mean that it's not there. And people are starting to understand that, yes, we need to make a change as a whole society to make everyone feel included and to feel that racism is going to be something that's abolished within our society, hopefully sooner rather than later, obviously.
I want to get your thoughts on Matt Dumba, and I'm sure it's a guy that being a Calgary guy, and you probably played against in the Western Hockey League as well. And the first word that comes to my mind is bravery, standing up against everything that's gone on in the Black Lives Matter movement and how important it is. And maybe get your thoughts on how inspiring it was to see him do that on such a big stage, but how sports can kind of help push that message through, because what happens in society happens in sports, and it's a great way and a fantastic platform to be able to, continue that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually very good friends with Matt. I played hockey with Matt when we were younger. Northwest Calgary Bantam AAA, so obviously the year before Bantam Draft, big year. So obviously I'm good friends with Matt, and I kind of knew what was going on a little bit behind the scenes before it happened. Obviously, he showed us a commercial about the George Floyd donation and to rebuild Minnesota that he sent. A little bit about the message about him kneeling and stuff like that. So I kind of knew what was going on a little bit before it happened. But the idea that bravery is the first black hockey player to do that is almost on the same level. I'm not saying it's the same as Colin Kaepernick, but for you to take up, say, in a sport where the way to put it is majority white, a situation like that, you were almost looking like, well, here we go. I'm the first person to do this, and there's not as much support as you say would be a basketball player or a football player. And for what Matt did, it's the word exactly is brave and courageous to say, I'm going to be the first one to do this. And no matter what happens, I'm in Matt's corner. I'm here to follow suit. I know I'm not as big as Matthew Dumba. He's playing Minnesota Wild, but my always answer to everyone is, I'm doing my part at MRU. We're trying to make change at MRU, and if that's what I need to do there, that's what I'm going to do over there. Same thing with my accounting firm. I've participated in their conversations about racism and stuff like that to say it's all about, as a black hockey player, not just worrying about the hockey world, but everything around you. How can you impact the way Black Lives Matter and the movement stuff in your life? And how can you do that not just on the rink, but you can do it outside of it? Because I think it's just so important as a society, and every single person around us needs to hear it.
I think it's a great platform, and hopefully that conversation continues to be pushed forward, because it's obviously garnered so much traction, and you're starting to see the culture change, and there's so much more work that we can do toward that. Let's talk about your time with the Lethbridge Hurricanes. You mentioned playing Bantam with Matt Dumba leading into your Bantam Draft year. What do you remember about the Bantam Draft? You're a 5th-round pick by the Lethbridge Hurricanes, and take us back to that and how excited you were to get drafted to a team that was pretty close to your home in Calgary.
I think the thing about Bantam was pretty crazy. Draft day, obviously, you never forget. Draft day is high school. You're just kind of waiting around, waiting to hear your name called. I remember obviously being a 5th-round pick, a little later than obviously anyone wants, right? That's just the way it is. But as soon as I heard I got drafted to the Lethbridge Hurricanes, it's unbelievable to say that, hey, 2 hours away. And I remember getting a call from Coach at the time, Rich Preston, to say, we're excited to get you where you did. We don't know how you fell this far. We don't know where it is. We don't know how you got here, but we're glad to have you. They're one of the only teams that actually I didn't receive a letter or phone call from. It just kind of happened. So that's kind of the cool part about it. But hearing the phone call and hearing your name taken, it was just the word is almost relief to say, all right, well, I got my name kind of in the door here. Let's see what we can make out of this. So, and with all the names that were drafted, it was real exciting and just wanted to be a part of something and say, well, this is my next step in my career. Like, let's see how we can get here. And obviously can't wait till the September first camp came around, which was awesome.
Yeah, talk about that experience. I can't imagine what it would be like being 15 years old and going to a Western Hockey League camp, and you've got all these scouts and coaches and the general managers and the players from, the years prior. It must be so overwhelming almost, in a sense, that first opportunity to kind of showcase your stuff.
It was kind of crazy, and the fact that this is the moment where it's like being a lower round pick's not a bad thing, where the spotlight's on the higher up guys and stuff like that. And I remember kind of just talking to my dad. I was like, I'm gonna go in and just do what got me here. He kind of give me at the Adams Ice Center, I think is what it was, because the arena was getting renovated at the time. So Adams Ice Center, just meeting new veterans like Cameron Brays, Brody Sutter, players like that around in my first year to say, all right, this is what this is about, Austin fighting, and just kind of go in there and do my best. And obviously, I remember my first camp going very well. It was a big eye-opening experience, but at no point I said, I can play in this league. I think for sure I can play in this league. I can get it figured out. And that's kind of where I made that decision after that first camp. I was like, well, may as well just sign here and let's see where this takes us. So obviously good feedback from the coaches, but like you said, the first experience when you get there is just so eye-opening, because I'm 15 years old and people are 18, 19, NHL camp players, and you just kind of see the levels to things and you go, the steps I need to take to get up there, this is what I need to do. And that was the best part.
You eventually would make the team as a 16-year-old. What do you remember about that first year, moving away from home, playing for Rich Preston, who, of course, had coached in the NHL, was a part of the coaching staff at the Calgary Flames when they went to the final in 2004. Was it pretty eye-opening? Were you able to kind of take it in, or were you encapsulated in the moment?
I think the first 10 games, because I think they have that 16-year-old deadline to send you back. After that first 10 games, then it was the moment to take it in. At the time, it was just do whatever you can to stay in the lineup. Do whatever you can to stand out. You got to get pucks in and out. You're not going to score as much because everyone's bigger, faster, stronger. You have less ice time to work with, but it doesn't matter. You got to figure out a way to stay there, and that's always been my thing. Is like, how can you stand out? How can you always be different? How can you always make an impact on the game? And my way was to skate as hard as I can, create speed, and show them that the tools are there. Like, we just got to develop them along, kind of thing. And I remember after the first 10 games, I do remember having a chat and them saying to me basically, yeah, no, we thought about sending you back, but we thought it'd be better to stay. And I ended up playing 69 games that year, which was really fun. And like, only missing 3 games. One was sickness. The other 2 was a healthy scratch. Is a big thing as a 16-year-old. And like, I think it was my biggest year developing for hockey-wise.
You play for Rich, and you guys had a decent team, maybe underperformed, I would say, with what you guys had in your first couple of years, but you had that sniff where you're close to the playoffs. When you think back to those the first 2 years, Who are some of the Hurricanes then that kind of helped you become a Western Hockey Leaguer and ultimately helped groom you to become a leader on the team who would eventually wear the captaincy?
For sure. Number one, Graham Hood. Me and Graham Hood, still best friends to these days. Always keep in contact. Hooder was always kind of he was hard on me, but the thing was Hooder was like, no, you got something special that like you can make a career, like you can make a game out of this. So like I'm gonna push you. Cameron Brays, watching the way that guy worked, 40 goals, 40 assists, fought, did whatever he needed, penalty killed, and kind of modeling my game to say, well, I'm going to do everything that needs to be done out here. Brody Sutter, still good friends with Brody to this day. NHL, the only NHL player at the time, highly skilled, big guy, but even though he was drafted low, he worked as hard as he could to get where he was at. And then one of my biggest influences was Dan Johnston. He was a defenseman for the Hurricanes, and like when I came in, I was always a good athlete, but Johnny said, you got to come work out with me at my gym. And I've been there ever since. And I just kind of took my game, like what my skill set was to the next level, where you added a huge amount of strength and athleticism and everything to say, well, even though everyone knows my lack of touch and skill with everything, it makes up for it with, all right, you're just going to be the most athletic, strongest, fastest guy on this ice out here, and we'll be able to make things work for you.
You, when I think of Jamal Watson, I think of two things. The smile, which we've seen throughout this. You always are smiling. And your speed on the ice. And the amount of breakaways you had. How much fun was it in Lethbridge? Because my first year was your last year. You were the captain. And I swear you probably had 150 breakaways that year. How much fun? What goes through your mind when you kind of take that shoulder check and there's not a guy near you because you're so fast and pulling away from them?
I think my thing was I was very good at timing things. The thing that honestly was my 16-year-old year was you have to learn how to get the puck out. The better you can get the puck out, the easier it is for you to get opportunities. So by the time you came around at 19 years old, it was kind of a skill where it's like chip, slide, move. All right, now I'm ahead of something. But obviously with the breakaways and stuff like that, the efficiency wasn't there. But I think we kind of attribute that to the fact I was going too fast, because I think I only missed twice in like 13 attempts in the shootout in the Western League. So the thing was like I was going too fast for my own brain, but if I could slow it down, it'd be a little bit easier on me. But I think the best part about it was it was almost a culmination of skills. Timing, understanding, being strong on the puck, making the nice touch pass into areas where you can get it back, and then obviously taking advantage of my best attribute, which is skating.
Yeah, so fast. You might be the fastest guy I've seen in the Western League in 6 years. I want to ask you about your final year in Lethbridge, because it was kind of a coming out party for you. You scored 26 goals, had 54 points. You were the captain. Before we talk about the season, what was it like to be named the captain of the Lethbridge Hurricanes, the 24th captain in franchise history? What was that honor like?
Obviously a huge honor. 24 captains, and you see on that list like some elite players, Rays, Seabrook, Salvador, stuff like that, where you go, that's the best of the best. And obviously being named captain is a huge honor. Everyone in your teammates trust in you and says, like, you represent what we want the Hurricanes logo to be this year. And we want you to be one of our players, one of our leaders. And basically the prime example setters say, all right, this is what we're going to do this year, and this is what we're going to do for a challenge. And obviously coming out party in the fact that that was my best statistical year, creating a lot of things. But I think the thing I prided myself on was you could play me in any situation. I was going to kill penalties for you. I was going to score. I was going to play on the power play in front of the net. I was going to play with whoever you wanted. My game wasn't going to change. And I think that's the biggest thing what everyone said about it was no matter what Waddy's game is, he's going to create his own. He's going to create his chance. He's going to create his thing, no matter who he's playing with, no matter what the situation is.
You were the captain that year, and of course, Peter Anholt took over halfway through that season. You wouldn't play a playoff game in your 4 years with Lethbridge. In fact, you wouldn't play a playoff game in your 5 years in the league, which might be a record. Not the record you want.
It's gotta be a record.
What is it? 328 regular season games and not one playoff game. But I want to ask you about that back half of your final year. Of course, you were traded to Seattle and then ultimately traded to Swift Current where you ended. But when you look at that second half, the coming out party of Giorgio Estefan, Tyler Wong kind of really came into his own. And then to see what the team did the year after and basically what they've done ever since, you must take some pride in kind of being a part of it at the infancy of it and to see it grow to what it is now.
I'll say this for Tyler Wong. I'll tell him he's standing on my shoulders always. That I was the start of that kind of thing where it was, hey, after I left and I said, I remember telling Pete and I remember saying, this team's in a good spot. Like, don't worry. Like this, like we have the pieces started to come in. Guys started to figure out what they were doing. And obviously the conversation to get traded to Seattle was between me and Pete. And it was, man, you've done your time here for 4 years. I think it's time for a change, obviously. And out of respect for like me personally, it was like, yeah, I think it's time for you to go somewhere else. And I still had my opportunities with Montreal and stuff like that. So I got rewarded for my work that year and everything. And then Swift Current, and unfortunately, I only got to play one game that year. The other 2 games, my ankle was hurt before I got Swift Current to play against those guys. But to see the way they kind of grew, to see guys like Nielsen take that step to be a 72-point defenseman. Wonger, obviously, I knew what Wonger was about. Me and Wonger are still friends to this day. Bradley Lindgren taking his coming out party, Cord playing well that year. And then obviously I knew how good Giorgio was. I played with Giorgio when he was young when he first got in the league, and I was like, it's just a matter of time till he figures his game out. So being a part of that a little bit, it's you don't get to reap the rewards from actually being there, but I understand that what my role is in that was to kind of build things to go along. And obviously we made the change from how things went the previous couple of years, and it was in the right direction is what it is. I know when Pete came in, I think we were close to 500. It was just that first start of the half of the year, and I could see things getting built that direction. So, but like I said, I'm still friends with all these guys and stuff today. We're always good buddies and stuff like that, so it's good.
4 years in Lethbridge, you split your last year with Seattle and Swift Current, and then you took advantage of the WHL Scholarship Program where you've played the last 4 years at MRU. What has that experience been like for you, playing at a relatively high level in your hometown while taking advantage of the scholarship program?
I can't say enough about U Sports hockey. The league has gotten so good in the past 3-4 years to where Luke Phillips signing NHL deals out of the University of Alberta. People are signing AHL deals. We have high-level players at MRU. We have guys signing East Coast Hockey League contracts that are playing well, AHL contracts. The scholarship offer that to play at MRU near my hometown, to finish school, get an accounting degree, it's one of the best deals in my entire life, and I'm so glad I got to take a part in it. And it's for anyone that decides to say that U Sports is the end, it's absolutely not, and I'll preach that till the cows come home to say, hey, this is basically another way to extend your hockey career. It gives you 4 years of development. I know I've gotten better because I get to practice 4 times a week. I practice 4 times a week. I go to school. I get to play Friday, Saturday, and that's honestly, it's one of the best ways to get better, and it's honestly a way to extend that career to say, okay, after I get this piece of paper, what am I going to do?
You played your entire Western League career as a forward. You mentioned the 26-goal season. Now you're a defenseman. Talk about that transition, because we talked earlier about your blistering breakaway speed. Now you're a D-man. How did that come about?
So, funny story. We had 7 defensemen to open last year. all of a sudden, preseason game, someone breaks their hand. It's like, okay, we're down to 6. And then next preseason game, someone concussion out for a long time. And I'm in practice kind of going around like, yeah, I'll take some reps on D. Like, let's go. Let's see what I can do. So after practice all week, it's like, okay, we'll keep you back there. And the opening weekend, we swept Saskatchewan in Saskatchewan, which we have never done. Like, it's not even, we've never been close. And I finished the weekend with a couple points playing, and they're like, okay, well, we're still hurt. We'll keep you back here. And then I think we split with U of A. And I think that's the second game I've won against U of A in my career at MRU. And all of a sudden it was, I guess we're going to keep you here. We'll see how it goes. And now all of a sudden it's, yeah, you can play both ways. You're playing defense. I like playing the right side. I get to run the top of the power play, break pucks out. And it's a little bit different in the fact that I think it takes advantage of my speed in a different way where I can get back to pucks quick, turn them up, and then I'm beating 4th, 5th, and 3rd forward checkers up the ice for that extra wave. And I obviously have offensive instincts in the offensive zone. So it's just learning a little bit different skills like skating backwards, the toughest things I've had to deal with and stuff like that. But figuring out as you can go, kind of just by like trial by fire, basically, when you get thrown into the game.
Well, the statistics were there for sure. Just under a point per game as a defenseman last year. I guess only a couple more with you, Wadia. I want to ask you about your future. You're going to get an accounting degree, 1 more year at MRU, both studying and playing. Is professional hockey something you're still thinking about as a puck-moving defenseman now?
Yeah, the right puck-moving defenseman. I think for sure. Obviously, with COVID, things are a little bit different. The way things will work out, I have no idea what's going to happen. But with hopefully I can get something going. Obviously, because that's in the East Coast Hockey League to start, and then maybe something across to Europe. But there's opportunities everywhere. Opportunities to, even in the English League, I know there's professional hockey to pay for your master's degree. So there's certain situations where it's beneficial to play both. You can keep going on with school. You can keep this, or you can keep chasing that pro hockey dream. And obviously that's something I want to do because I still think I have enough game that, even though I'm a little bit older now at 25, I never thought I'd say that. I'll be able to get something done in pro hockey, and I've seen it through a multitude of guys that it's still viable at this age.
Come talk to me when you're pushing 30, my friend. I guess last thought, when you think of Lethbridge, 4 years, and you were there in kind of a tumultuous time at times, but I see it in your face, and every time we talk about it, you immediately start to smile. What does Lethbridge and the Lethbridge Hurricanes mean to Jamal Watson?
I think Lethbridge Hurricanes is honestly part of the one of the biggest parts of like why my life exists the way it does now. I got my 4 years in there. I wouldn't take back any moment of it. I've never had more fun. I have friends that are friends forever. Friends that I still, like, I might be going on Harrison Harper's podcast that he started in a couple weeks. So there's things like that obviously I would never get to do if I wasn't a Lethbridge Hurricane. And obviously offering me the WHL Scholarship, which is paid for by the WHL. And the reason is because I played in the Western Hockey League. Lethbridge is basically home to me. And it's like one of the best times of my life. And till the day I die, I'll literally say that was the best 5 years I've ever spent doing anything, and I will never change it for anything else. And obviously, my time there wasn't how I say as successful as I wanted to, but personally and from an emotional standpoint, it's one of the best times of my life.
I think we can leave it there. Really, I mean, always appreciate getting to chat and catch up with you, and hopefully as we move forward, the talk continues with the Black Lives Matter and great work by you and all of your friends that you know, like Matt Dumba and everyone else at keeping that conversation going so that we can improve both as a society and as a hockey culture moving forward. Jamal Watson, the 24th captain of the Lethbridge Hurricanes. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks so much, Fardsy.
All right, there he is, Jamal Watson, on another edition of Saturday Sit Down. We hope you enjoyed it.